Sentencing is handed down on a former Boy Scout leader and Ireland resident. I sit down with Trey Weininger to talk about this year's DuBois County 4-H Fair Rodeo, and Kurt Guxell previews the upcoming DuBois County Amateur Golf Tournament ahead in sports. Those stories and much more are up next here on 18 WJTS News. Hello, I'm Bradford Raths. In your news, an accident along State Road 56 yesterday afternoon resulted in one person being injured. Indiana State Police say 86-year-old Robert Schnaus of Jasper was pulling out of a driveway onto State Road 56 near the intersection of Old Petersburg Road at about 3:15 yesterday afternoon when the accident took place. Police say Schnaus failed to see a car driven by 51-year-old Mark Davis of Washington, who was westbound on State Road 56 approaching the area. Schnaus pulled out of the driveway into the path of the Jeep, and the vehicles collided. A passenger in Davis's Jeep, 37-year-old Lisa Yates of Washington, suffered serious but non-life-threatening injuries. She was taken by ambulance to Otwell Elementary School, where she was then airlifted to Evansville's Deaconess Hospital. She is currently listed in fair condition. Davis and Schnaus were not injured in the accident. Both vehicles were a total loss in the accident. Schnaus was cited for failure to yield the right-of-way. The DuBois and Pike County Sheriff's Departments, the Ireland and Jefferson Township Fire Departments, and Memorial Hospital EMS all assisted at the scene. In a press conference held yesterday afternoon at the Jasper Train Depot, United States Attorney for the Southern District of Indiana, Joe Hogsett, announced the final sentencing for a former Boy Scout executive and Ireland resident for receiving child pornography. 33-year-old Ryan Behler was sentenced to 6.5 years in federal prison and must serve at least 85% of that term under federal law. Behler is a former senior district executive with the Boy Scouts' Evansville-based Buffalo Trace Council, which serves DuBois, Spencer, Perry, Pike, and Warwick counties. Hogsett says although no boys who had worked with Behler in the aforementioned counties were victims of misconduct, the number one goal is to assure parents that a child's protection is still a priority of the U.S. Attorney's Office.
Well, I think that the message that is sent, not only here throughout DuBois County, but the other counties, and throughout all of southwestern Indiana, is that the United States Attorney's Office remains committed to prioritizing the protection of Hoosier kids and our children who are innocent and, in many instances, the most vulnerable.
Behler must also serve a 10-year federally supervised release following the end of his prison term. Hogsett says this case serves as a reminder of the vulnerability of children with the rise of the internet. He says parents should remain aware of their children's internet activities in order to keep their children safe.
The message to parents is that you need to have open and honest conversations with your kids about their internet usage, what websites they visit, and stay involved, number one, in your children's lives as it relates to technology.
The investigation, which led to Behler's arrest, began in October of 2010 when the United States Postal Inspection Service and foreign law enforcement officials began looking into a movie production company outside of the United States. A search warrant for this company was executed on May 1st of 2011, and hundreds of DVD movies and photographs showing children behaving in sexually explicit ways were seized. After determining that these movies and pictures were being sent worldwide, Behler was one of the customers linked to this company based on company records seized by law enforcement. A search warrant for Behler's residence was issued on November 1st of last year and was executed on November 8th. Authorities found DVDs and items on Behler's personal computer depicting children engaging in sexually explicit behaviors. A journal detailing Behler's sexual interest in certain minor boys was also found at Behler's Ireland residence, and Behler admitted at the time to authorities that his sexual interest in minor boys was strong. Last night, the Huntingburg City Council heard a presentation from Honeywell Energy Account Executive James Zellman concerning energy efficiency improvements in city offices. The City Council approved a memorandum of understanding to be drafted between the City of Huntingburg and Honeywell. Zellman says Honeywell plans to work with city officials to find the best solution to save energy. He says the agreement allows the company to move forward with its efforts with the city.
As part of this feasibility study, Honeywell plans on working with the city, the utility superintendents, to find those areas that the city can improve upon, both in the areas of energy and operational savings. The agreement that we entered into tonight was a memorandum of understanding that just allows Honeywell and the city to work together to understand the fullest potential of an energy conservation project.
Zellman says though Honeywell is a large company, finishing what they start with customers is a big part of what the company does.
As large as they are, they're very simple-minded, and they do carry out everything that they have set out to do with their customers. It's a fairly simple thing to say, but to follow through on doing that, it's typically not the easiest thing to do.
The first step of Honeywell's work will be to complete a feasibility study. The findings will be brought before the City Council at a later date to decide on any action that needs to be taken. By state law, the Council will then have to accept bids from potential companies looking to make those energy improvements, including Honeywell. Honeywell says it does not charge cities to conduct feasibility studies, unlike most companies. The company views the study as a goodwill effort to show the city that it is there to help them improve. In the next week or two, those driving into the north and south ends of the town of Ferdinand will now be greeted with a friendly welcome. One of the two much-anticipated Welcome to Ferdinand signs was unveiled to the Ferdinand Town Council during last night's meeting at Ferdinand Town Hall. The idea for the new signs was conceived by 8-year-old Cassidy Anderson, a soon-to-be third grader at Ferdinand Elementary School. Cassidy presented her idea to the Town Council last November after noticing a couple of weeks prior that the signs on the north and south sides of town do not say Welcome to Ferdinand. She set about getting in touch with town officials to find out why. Cassidy asked her mother, Christy, to get in touch with Ferdinand Town Manager Mark Stedzik, who loved the idea and ran with it. In January, a contest was held looking for ideas from students from the town in grades kindergarten through 12. Then in March, a design was chosen with Cassidy's help. Stedzik says the project was a great learning experience for Cassidy and the other youth that were involved.
It's a very good way for youngsters to learn the process of working with government, how you can actually work with your local government and actually do things that improve your town. And this is, it might not seem like a lot to a lot of people that are hearing that we're going to install actual welcome signage, but it means the world to her that we're actually getting this done.
The signs are cut with the silhouette of the community incorporated at the top of the signs, which includes the Monastery of Immaculate Conception. Stedzik says in order to put up the new signs, the town needed to gain the approval of the Indiana Department of Transportation, which was recently granted. The new signs will be put up within the next week to 2 weeks. Also during last night's Ferdinand Town Council meeting, 2 of the town's public servants were honored for their heroic efforts while being called to a medical emergency at a local establishment earlier this year. Back on April 20th, veteran Ferdinand police officer Lloyd Froman and longtime fire chief Dan Lindauer were both leaving the scene of a fire call where Froman assisted when a page was issued for an unresponsive woman at the Ferdinand American Legion Club. Before EMS arrived at the scene, both men responded and found the woman, Rita Ozier, lying on the floor of the club. Lindauer checked for but could not find a pulse, and the 2 men immediately began CPR in order to keep Ozier resuscitated before paramedics could arrive and take over. Froman, a 33-year member of the force, says events like the night of April 20th makes his job that much more rewarding.
It's a pleasure to work here. Like I said, I've been here 33 years, and I do enjoy my job, and especially something like that, because that's what makes it all worthwhile, is when you can help people, any way you can. But this was particularly awarding for me, and I guess Dan also.
Meanwhile, Lindauer, who has served for the Ferdinand Fire Department over the last 25 years, says it was a matter of having the proper training and knowing what to do.
And that's another thing that we try to do within the fire department. At least twice a year, we'll go over and review all the techniques and how you go the proper way of doing CPR. And that is a big benefit. It only takes one time to save a life, and it'll pay off. And apparently it happened for this lady. I'm so grateful, and I know Lloyd is too, that she made it through and we were successful.
Froman and Lindauer were surprised at last night's meeting with a presentation of a plaque by Town Council President Ken Seacard and Town Manager Mark Stedzik, recognizing the 2 for their heroic efforts. Ozier and members of her family were also on hand last night to show their appreciation of the patrolman and fire chief's efforts to help save her life. Yesterday morning, the Jasper Board of Public Works and Safety gave its approval for a new service agreement between the city and the Redevelop Old Jasper Action Coalition, or ROJAC. Jasper Mayor Terry Seitz says the new agreement will allow for the city and ROJAC to move forward with preservation work in the future. He says the agreement isn't necessarily based on property being acquired and puts a process into place for evaluating decisions related to ROJAC projects.
It's not even acquisition-based as much as idea and project-based. I mean, German-American Boulevard has had significant private investment, and even that, though, as it plays out, puts that process in place that Plan Commission will look at things and say, how does it fit? That the Board of Works will look at things, will also ask about how financing goes.
Seitz also talked about this weekend's upcoming dedication ceremony for the new German-American Boulevard along the Jasper riverfront. He remains very hopeful that there will be a good turnout in support of the boulevard and even gave his personal forecast for the day.
It's going to be a wonderful day. I checked the weather. I play a little role in controlling that, but it looks like it's going to be a beautiful morning. And of course, I remind you again that the free train rides, and sometimes as the public goes, it's a great opportunity to kind of just enjoy that area, all over from morning till evening, from farmers market to dedication to train rides to food to concert, and what a wonderful day to be in Jasper.
The German-American Boulevard dedication will take place Saturday morning at 11 a.m. On Monday night, the North Spencer School Board approved the advertisement of its 2014 corporate budget. The budget is set to be advertised in Spencer County newspapers on August 15th and the 22nd. North Spencer Schools Superintendent Dan Sherry, while not revealing anything in the budget, says the corporation is working hard to keep its spending under control while keeping its programs strong.
Well, it's as is the case in all years, and I think in all schools, you work very hard to not spend more money than you collect from the state and from the local revenue sources. North Spencer is in the same crunch as a lot of schools in our area and in the state of Indiana. So we just try to be as frugal as possible while not sacrificing the quality of our programming. So we're working very hard to make ends meet.
The corporation will hold a public hearing on August 26th for the budget, and the corporation plans to adopt the budget on September 23rd. Additionally, the board approved a resolution for the 2014 budget that allows $150,000 to be transferred from the bus replacement fund to pay the costs of contracted bus service. The contract service is currently being paid out of the transportation fund. On a final note from the meeting, the school board named Harmony Computer Systems as its choice for all extracurricular account work. Sherry says the biggest benefit of the switch will be having one system instead of multiple systems, controlling extracurricular accounts.
It gives a familiarity with all the elementary schools as well as the high school and middle school and using the same program. The program we were using was over 10 years outdated and had not been upgraded and was ready for an upgrade. And since we're changing our student data system as well, we just decided to do all of it with Harmony, which just kind of puts us on a one-stop shopping.
Sherry says the program handles many tasks that the previous accounting programs simply could not handle. Coming up after the break, my interview with 4-H rodeo participant Trey Weininger, plus a rainy evening tonight will give way to sunshine and cooler air tomorrow, that ahead in your local forecast, sports with Kurt Gooksell, and Inform featuring Hayesville Summerfest coordinator Charlotte Greaves. That's all up next here on 18 WJTS News. Local people watching local people.